Order. May I have a roll call, please?
Here. Present.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here. Thank you. If you'll stand for the invocation, Reverend Anderson, would you give us the invocation, please?
Pray God, we thank you for this day. Thank you for this gathering, these people who have volunteered their time. Now, God, give us insight to make decisions that will impact your city. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hope everyone had a great holiday weekend. You have your minutes from the August 1st and 8th meeting. May I have if you had an opportunity to read them?
Make a motion that they be approved as presented.
There's motion.
Second.
And a second to approve both the August 1st and 8th meetings of the organization. Any questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes. Next, for petitions and communications, we have no presentations. Communications, Mr. Baptiste.
Yes, Madam Chairman.
Mr. Baptiste.
Chairman, board member, this board have scheduled a board workshop on September the 17th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. That is a Saturday. I think each of you guys have received, we have a booklet in front of you that most of the information that you will be going over will be from this manual. We're going to have our attorney, Guy Goodson, going to be doing a lot of the presentation, and myself going to be providing this workshop. So my suggestion is you guys look over some of this stuff. Where you have some questions, write down your questions when you come by here on the 18th. We could try to, 17th, I'm sorry, we could try to answer those questions that y'all may have.
Thank you.
The next communication, Madam Chairman, is the Greater Port Arthur Chamber of Commerce on September the 27th. I think several of you guys are going to be out of town that time. Mm-hmm. So my recommendation to this board, for those who want to be in attendance, Madam Chairman, my recommendation is we buy single tickets for those who would like to attend, because I think several of you guys are going to be out of town, and it's no use purchasing a table. But we could purchase individual tickets if you wish to go.
Just want to make one comment. For those who are not going to be out of town, it would be great to have some support. Our executive director is going to be the guest speaker, so it would be great for those who aren't out of town on EDC business to support Mr. Baptiste.
And the last communication is a communication from our attorney, Kate. All of you guys aware that Kate is a new mother, and I think a couple of months ago we sent her a gift card, and she's just saying thank you guys for sending her that gift card.
Thank you, and we all want to say congratulations again to Kate on being a new mom. It's an exciting time. We'll move on to unfinished business. The first unfinished business agenda item is to discuss for possible consideration recommendations from the board subcommittee regarding security services systems for 501 Proctor. The subcommittee did not have an opportunity to look at this individually, so we brought it back to the board for any discussion. that may exist among the board members, and I think we can make a decision or at least some idea of what we'd like to do. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at what was submitted to you in your packet about the security system? Any comments about any of them? Questions? Mr. Smith?
Madam President, are we supposed to make a motion on this, or are we supposed to move on this tonight?
We do not have to make a decision on it tonight. It's brought back for discussion because the committee did not have an opportunity to meet. If this body wants us to take it back to committee and the committee meet to discuss it, we can do that.
There's some language in the, I guess it's a memo, and I have some questions. Is it any way that we could discuss this in closed meeting?
Not close.
I'm not sure it qualifies as personnel because these people will be independent contractors. If there's a legal question, it's certainly under 551071, we can ask legal questions, but just general discussions on the concept of the security would have to be in an open session. But we can answer any specific legal questions in executive session if you want to defer it and determine if that's the nature of the inquiry.
Can we defer it?
If it's a legal question, if it's not, if it's just discussion, the discussion, since this is the Open Meetings Act requires that discussions relative to consultants be done in open session.
Not a legal question.
Is it a question you want to be brought, is it of the contractor, or is it something you want to be brought back here, or is it something you want to send back to committee?
Yes, I have a question. On in the memo, it stated that I was under the impression that the system would cost $2,500 to $3,500, and I thought we was paying in full for the system. Per his language, it says per additional tenant added, so I'm not sure what that actually means.
Is there someone here to respond to that?
Madam Chairman, I would recommend that this board table this until the next meeting, and maybe we could get the contractor to meet with the subcommittee and all the questions that you guys may have about the system that they're recommending. You guys could ask the questions to them. I'm certainly not familiar with the system he's recommending, so I would suggest that the board table it until you guys get a chance to meet and Joni, we could probably set up whether your contractor or the vendor would actually meet with you guys, and y'all can ask any questions on this system or any other system that they may have.
Okay. Ms. Womack, you had a question?
I did have a question. It was regards to the $2,500, $3,500, whether that was a one-time fee and whether or not there was any kind of monitoring charges monthly with it. So I think that would be another question for the subcommittee to consider.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're looking at, what is it, something like $30,000 a year. And I don't know, originally we had talked about having somebody sit there anyway, and would that be a contractor or an employee of the EDC that we would pay benefits and taxes on and so forth?
It would be a contractor.
Okay.
It would be a contractor. Mr. Pena?
I was just wanting to know if we can have another company bid in the same equipment system that they're doing.
What I would recommend is that the subcommittee look at whether we want to look at other companies, ask the staff
Well,
to
instead of just going with
present,
their prices.
right, to
and-
ask the staff to talk to other companies to see if they can make some recommendations to the committee. So, Mr. Baptiste, can we ask that you look at another company or other companies? If we could have at least 3 companies to maybe give us an idea of what would be best.
Okay.
There
We
are
could,
three.
we could take care of that.
Okay. Thank you. There are-
Madam
I'm sorry.
Chairman, just to make sure in subcommittee, what he submitted on the backside, the quotes, I guess that would be the specs, Mr. Pena, of that system? You know, what we'd be asking the additional company to make quotes on those specs? Yeah, so that we could deal with apples and apples.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Consent agenda items, there being none. Non-consent agenda items, to discuss for possible consideration rescinding the board action to request bids for build-out of bathrooms and other improvements to the 3rd floor of 501 Proctor, and rescinding the per square foot build-out allowances for letters of intent for 501 Proctor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Again, this is to capture the results from the joint meeting with the 501 Proctor Board, at which time we discussed at length the prior decision of the board in collaboration with 501 Proctor to take the remaining somewhat south of $300,000 remaining funds and to spread those over a per square foot build-out allowance for the 2nd and 3rd floor, which was $30.41, if Floyd doesn't correct me, but to then basically put it all back in a pot and then allow Mr. Hayes and Mr. Baptiste, as tenants come, to work towards trying to bring a tenant in the building with whatever build-out allowance was deemed appropriate for that letter of intent, rather than the previous action of the board to spread it evenly among the floors. So that action is recommended, I believe, from the prior joint meeting, along with the simply rescinding of requesting the build out for the 3rd floor, since there is no 3rd floor tenant viable at this time. That build out would necessarily occur probably even with the cost savings when you can bring it back with the actual build out of a 3rd floor space. So trying to save some money.
Any comments?
I make a motion that we rescind the board action of the, I make a motion like that.
Second it.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions? Mr. Baptiste?
Yeah, Madam Chairman, the only thing I would say to the board that we will incur some costs because the architect had put some plans together for this, but it's only the architectural cost for putting the plans and the specs for that space. So that you will incur that cost.
Will that cost come
Understand.
from the proctor? Will it come out of that?
It will come out of 501.
Okay.
Question. I know we was on a time limit as far as that 501 monies, that grant. How long do we have before that expires?
I think it's March 2017, guys, is that right?
It is, the time limit is not to spend the money from the bank. The money's been fully funded by Chase, so you're obliged, or 501 Proctor's obliged on the whole amount. The question just becomes, under their CPA's requirements, to go out and do some additional calculations on the investment of the funds compared to the rate of borrowing that they got on the loan. It's what we call doing an arbitrage calculation, and they could have some payment due to the Internal Revenue Service in certain circumstances if you do not expend all of the proceeds within that 36-month period. But we're going to visit with the 501 board and their accountant because we also may be able to use our engineer architect on this project to say, due to the time period for construction, there was a longer build out. And this is what we call a safe harbor rule. There is also an opportunity to look at an additional safe harbor period if certain findings are made that we'll see if we qualify for. So that was more in earnest to try to move the project along at a point where we thought we might have some use for the 3rd floor and some of that money, but we will make certain, and even if it is and there's an arbitrage payment due, it should be very, very small, and I doubt there will be one. So we'll continue to work with NDC on that. Thank you.
There's currently a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Item number 2, to discuss for possible consideration the approval of a life skills and financial planning training agreement with Gyro World Church and Outreach Ministries. Mr. Baptiste?
Yes, Madam Chairman, this board approved us enter into an agreement with Gyro World Church Outreach Ministry to provide life skill and financial training. The attorney had prepared the agreement for your review, and we're asking you guys to approve the agreement. I think the only difference in this agreement and the prior agreement is we did not put a specific number of participants to be served, but we have a specific number of dollars per component that they can receive. It's so much they could receive for enrollment. There's so much they will receive for completion, and there's so much they could receive for placement. So we don't have a fixed number of participants, but it's a fixed number of dollars they could receive per component, and they get paid for what they produce only.
We do recommend approval, and Floyd gave me too much credit. I give Crystal most of the credit because she worked with Gyro World in putting together most of this contract. So I do thank her for this, and we do think this is a good new format.
I have been so impressed with what they have produced in our previous contracts with them that I fully recommend that we enter into this contract.
It's a recommendation or a motion to approve the contract?
Mm-hmm.
There's been a motion and second. Any questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item number 3, to discuss for possible consideration the approval of Phase 1 application for the Olive Packing Company, Inc.
Yes, Madam Chairman, Board, Olive Packing Company several years ago came to us for an incentive. They currently is located on, it's not Guffway Drive, but they off of Guffway Drive. What's the name of it? Sabine? Okay, Sabine Drive. They are currently, they met all the obligations of the original contract that they entered into with us. They're coming back asking you guys for additional assistance. They're going to expand their business, add an additional, I think it's 35,000 square foot warehouse with an additional, I don't recall, but I think it's an additional 9 or 10 new hires. But again, they have met all the conditions. They do meet the NAISC code, and we're asking you guys if you want to continue working with these guys to give us permission to move on with the application process.
Recommendation, question?
As a new member here, I just reading through the letter, and I think it's the 4th paragraph in the last sentence there. It says, without an expansion of our existing warehouse and refrigeration capabilities, we will be forced to relocate to a larger facility. That language to me says that, you either gonna give us what we want or we're gonna leave it. I mean, it just kind of struck me, and I'm not sure what I'm trying to say is, right, if we don't give them the money, they're going to leave us? Is that?
Well, Commissioner Marks, here we are only asking to go through the application process.
Okay.
you know, we haven't made any determination if this board going to make an award or not make an award. Is just, do you want to, what we normally do is send what you guys a letter of intent telling you guys, here's a business that wants some assistance from you guys. And you guys tell us if y'all want to move forward with that business or not move forward. Once you guys give us permission, then we start an application process, start gathering documentation.
Thank you.
Make a motion to, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, previously when they came to us for their application, they pretty much said the same thing. They would end up either staying in Port Arthur or going to someplace up east. We funded them at that level, and they stayed, and they have grown in that place, and they have produced products from this city as well as employed Port Arthur residents. I think you can see that they've employed, out of the 90 employees, 80 of them are Port Arthur residents. There was a question about the salary level in the past, but that was justified, and I'm highly in favor of this company, and if they say they need the space, they need the space. And if they say they're going to move, they probably would move. But why not keep them here if they're already here?
Yeah, I mean, this is just moving forward with the application. So, I mean, I'll make a motion to move forward with the application.
Second the motion.
There's a motion and a second to move forward with application. Any questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item number 4, to discuss for possible consideration the recommended economic incentive for Port Arthur Recycling, LLC.
Yes, Madam Chairman, this is a company that have come before you guys and have asked for some assistance from you guys. Went before you guys, the board approved moving on with their project to the next level. We have taken in the application. We have reviewed the financials of the company, if you guys look in your package, there is a letter to Rachel from NDC. NDC is one of our consultants that help us look at the financials. Because this is a startup, we look at a lot of personal finance, and you know, with the help of NDC and Rachel, the hard work that they put into this, they found that this company is very credit worthy, and so we went on, and the next thing I want to show you guys is what I normally do for the new board members. You see what I have a formula that I use that look at any business that come in here, and we try to make everyone equal. If you look at it, it talks about the number of jobs they're going to create. His application, all these numbers come from their application. It said 18 jobs, the total capital investment about $1.1 million, and the annual salary is about $33,000. Based upon those numbers, the modules say offer where you say total PA EDC incentive. The incentive is based upon job creation and capital investment, but the total incentive is for both. Okay. The other thing that we do for you guys is we run in your package. You should also have what we call an impact analysis. And that impact analysis will tell, especially you new board members, what type of impact that business will have into our community within the next 10 years. And based upon that module, it also makes some recommendation on a possible incentive. And normally we run pretty close, my module and this module, you know. This module, I'm trying to find it, just one second. If you look on if y'all look on page 11, this module recommended an incentive also that is a little less than what than my module would represent, you know. So the board has a choice. You could go with the impact analysis, and it's all formula driven, folks. It's all formula driven. There's nothing, you know, we pulling out the hat, or it's just one model and another model, you know. But we recommending that you guys offer these guys an incentive. The original request on the application, I think it was $380,000. $380,000. Let me just say this for the board members now. Based upon the recommendation that's being made today by staff, and if you guys accept it, these folks will have to come back and show that they are capable of completing the project. They have to show the additional funds. You know, this board will not, is not recommending the total incentive that they're requesting, but they're going to have to show that that money is there because it's part of that project. You know, if they request $300 and we gave them $150, they're going to have to show where that other $150 is going to come from to make the project. And we collect the data on that.
You've heard the recommendation of Mr. Baptiste.
As I said, Madam Chairman, it's up to the board. You know, my module says $158,700. The impact analysis module came up with $139,664,000, give or take, whichever which one the board choose to go with.
Is your module in here, Floyd?
Yes, sir. This is my module here. I just plug my number in my formula.
I got it.
And that shows you down here where it says total incentive.
Got it.
Okay. And when I plug their numbers into the module, the impact analysis module that I have, it comes up with an incentive also. You know, you know, if you look at the impact analysis, look like you're going to get about 7.5% return on your investment. 35 years. Yes, ma'am.
Which incentive do we normally go with?
It's up to the board. Either you know, you could look at both of them and split the difference, because it is a little different. Normally it's a little closer than that, but you could see, Commissioner, it's about $20,000 different, you know, however the board choose.
How many jobs is this going to create?
18.
18. I make a motion to go with your module for $158,700.
There's been a motion and a second. Any questions? To go with the $158,700. Mr. Baptiste?
Yeah, Madam Chairman, the only other thing I want to explain to the board member is in your package I also provided you got a lot of new board members, so, you know, I kind of, what we call a fact sheet, and what I'm going to look at is this right here, guys. Let's see what I'm talking. Pull that so you guys can understand. And when I go to the lawyer, this is basically what I'm giving to the lawyers to write the contract. And this is the commitment that these guys should have a package, something, that's it right there. Yeah, and what it says, you know, it talks about the average wage, the 18 jobs, and we break it down into a 3-year contract where in this contract that our attorney going to put together, they will have to produce over a 3-year period $1,766,760, and each year they would. The first year they would have to produce $588,920. Second year they would have to produce $1,177,000, and that's how the milestones are based upon their payroll. So we monitor that based upon all of that.
This is paid in arrears.
Yes, ma'am. For you new members, you know, if you have questions on how we come up with that, you can come by the office and I kind of explain all of this to you guys.
requires some collateralization
Right.
of the incentive since it's a multi-year period for them to perform. So we would work with the incentive recipient not only on the milestones as Mr. Baptiste just outlined, but also the collateral requirements.
There's a motion, oh, I'm sorry.
Question, you base that off their records, or what do they have to provide to you?
You say base,
When you said that you monitor,
well, the application tell us the wages they're paying. The application tell us how many positions they're going to be paying. And what we do, we look at the application based upon the number. Everything comes from the application. So they telling us they're going to hire so many people the first year, second year, and third year. And you have to produce based upon those positions and the wages, you have to produce so much wages for us. And normally, this thing, I don't have that second page, but it will tell you somewhere. It will tell you that. I don't have it on here, but it will tell you for every $1 in payroll you produce, we're going to give you $4 credit. You know, or for every $4 we give you $1 credit, something like that.
Here it says $1 credit for each $12.65.
That's it. That's right. So for every $12 in payroll he pay, he get $1 credit toward the incentive that we give him.
how you track the payroll?
We
Payroll
receive
records.
we receive W-2s from.
That's okay.
Yes,
Yeah, certified payroll records.
So what if he doesn't meet?
If he
What
does,
What if he comes up short?
he get the client get credit for anything he does produce. There is a clawback. It be turned into a loan, and the contract will say that the lawyer will prepare that if you don't meet those obligations, it turns into a loan, and I think it's 15% interest, guy.
It's a 10% loan, but at the end of the day, they actually execute a conditional loan agreement and a promissory note at the time of closing. So we simply date it.
At the end of the 3 years.
No, they sign it initially. They sign a note that's conditional upon default.
Okay.
We get to simply fill it in, and it becomes live ammunition. It's a live note.
It's paid in arrears. It's paid in arrears. In other words, we're not giving them money up front.
Upfront, yeah.
But once they produce, then we meet them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to clarify, they did ask for the money up front. How we will fund it will be based upon whatever the
Collateral.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think that's part of Crystal's job description, where she actually goes to the site and reviews, and she'll report to this to us once the contract is executed. Am I not correct? That's correct. Mm-hmm. Keeping track of how many employees and so forth.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item number 5, to discuss for possible consideration the policy and procedures of the PAEDC Down Payment Assistance Program, Legacy Community Development Corporation.
Yes, Madam Chairman, board members, last meeting you guys approved hiring a project manager for the downtown housing program. Ms. Ballou, she got to work and put policies together. It has been reviewed by the attorney. I think, Guy, you had a couple of questions.
Just a couple of things I'd like to bring, and I again thank Vivian, who always does a wonderful job putting these together. A couple of the program parameters that she has, and I certainly don't object, but I wanted to bring to your attention, just so the board understands, is that as we move forward, as you know, we had a target area in the ballot proposition to look at for trying to refresh and enhance by getting new construction in that area. The ballot proposition talked about single-family rooftops. So she has it clearly identified in here that there's no mobile homes, no multifamily of any kind, duplex, quadplex, condominiums, nothing. It's all single-family rooftops. But we did not say in the ballot proposition that it would exclude rehabilitation. She does have a rehabilitation piece. I meant to, but I didn't get away early enough to drive by. I think Floyd would like to advise the board that a target area, sort of within the target area, is would be the starting point with some properties that, working with the city, the EDC might be able to get acquired at a price where we can start actively marketing these and do it in a confined area, much like, let's say, a Habitat does in their home, where they go in and try to build out a block or whatever time. So you get a cluster instead of a house here and a house there. And I think that's an excellent idea for Vivian working with the city to undertake. And so I think that we just want to say is this also contemplates, at least for now, the possibility of rehabilitation. So I didn't know, did you have something to? Okay. But the program also contemplates that this is not just an immediate grant of money, that this is what you'd call a soft second, where this loan would be behind a first lien mortgage, but it therefore obliges an applicant who's successful in receiving funds from the EDC to move forward. But since we have legacy here, y'all might want to ask questions as y'all deem appropriate. But we do recommend proceeding. And I think this is a program where it may be, because this is new out of the box, but we only have 3 years to work on it, that I think we should look at this as being elastic, because you're going to be trying to partner with the city and perhaps other entities to make this work, to get enough money to basically fill that gap in what a mortgage lender is going to fund on a first lien mortgage and what it's going to take to get that ultimate property occupied. So I think that we need to understand that we need a starting place so we can get going and not burn any more daylight. And Legacy has always done a good job of getting us out of the gate quickly. So I'd suggest that if y'all have questions, that we ask our consultant.
My only question is, I think this is a great document, but is it a fluid document? Can we make changes to it will you be making changes to it as you move forward, if necessary, if we find that there are some things?
I think it's a living document. I think as we go through this process, we might find that we may have to make changes, but it's up to the board how you want to handle any revisions that we bring forward. But I think that as we move through this process, there's a few things that might need to be tweaked.
Right.
So I would like to have that, fluidity so that we could make those changes.
Could you expound a little bit on the rehabilitation? Am I hearing you say some homes in this area may be rehabilitated?
I would just say this, is that we're aware that in the original target area, it's not completely vacant. There are some homes that are in there that, I'm using this word, my word, could be perhaps rehabilitated to bring them up to what you'd like to see a neighborhood standard would be for that neighborhood, as you would be, let's say there's a block with 12 lots and there's 3 or 4 homes on there, and you would want to be infilling that. If some of those property owners wanted to come in and participate in the program to try to enhance the property more, to get more in line with the market value of the properties that you would be constructing, this would give you an opportunity to do a rehabilitation program along with a ground up. We're not talking about doing a lot of demolishing here. We're not talking about taking a neighborhood area and doing a demolition and starting up. They're going to take the lots as they're found, whether they are occupied or not. This just, again, because the ballot proposition did not limit it to just new construction, it limited it to affordable single-family structures I thought this was an interesting opportunity if it presents itself, but it will have to be a situation where it would meet the policy guidelines that have been drafted. So it's just another tool in the toolkit to try to get that whole area refreshed.
Okay, because, I mean, they're not going to be applying for a loan necessarily, I mean, not the original loan or a loan of that great of amount because they own the property or either already have a loan on the home.
They very well may, and again, this would be a second, and I think that's going to be determined on how much the first lien is, whether a bank would be willing to do a refi and allow a home equity. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities that this could kind of open up that I thought was interesting, but because I really intended to go back and look at the housing stock that was in the neighborhood a little better, but I think it's good. We leave this tool in the toolkit. If we need it, you have it. That way you're not prohibiting someone who's a single-family owner right now to at least come in and make an application. Doesn't mean that it would be funded. You need to look holistically at this with Legacy and whomever your lender would be. And I do know that Vivian's worked with a lot of the lenders around here, and several of them are very interested in this program.
And there's also vacant properties that are scattered, throughout this area that we might be interested in purchasing, renovating, and then selling those to new homeowners. So you would have another option. So not just new construction, but actually renovating and placing something back on the tax rolls that's already there. So that's just another option.
Thank you.
A question. Did the homes that we said we were going to build had to have a certain dollar amount, certain structure to them? I thought they did.
Basically, we have $135,000 is the value that we're trying to achieve on the new construction.
The land and the building have to value at least $130,000.
If we do renovations, then what we're saying is we're just going to enhance those properties to meet that dollar amount.
Yeah, you wouldn't do $135,000 on an existing home. So something like you buy a vacant house, put in maybe $60,000, and then that house may eventually appraise for $120,000.
That's what I meant.
So you hope to do that, yes. So you wouldn't go up to we wouldn't invest $130,000 in an existing house.
Yeah, that's what I meant, where the value would go up to that. Because the idea is to make it look a certain way, right?
Yes, sir. And I think that, the more that you do, the better the value is. Right now, the appraisal's fairly low, trying to, put that injection into the community. So we're basically going to have to develop our own comps so that we can bring up the appraisals in the area.
Thank you. I have a question. So are they able to use their own contractors, or does it have to be a city-approved contractor?
Right now, we're the developer, but I guess there will be an opportunity. Depends on who owns the land. So some of the ones that the first step, it will be first 6, I believe, we're actually purchasing the land to build the houses so that they'll be available. We'll actually start with a spec house so that there's something for them to see. We haven't got to a point where it's open yet.
If somebody wanted to renovate their home, would they be able to choose their own contractor?
Yeah, I would think that. We haven't gotten to developing a process for the existing properties yet, but I would think you would allow that, but you would make sure that they are vetted, certified, and so that you don't have a problem with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mrs. Blue? Thank you.
Thank you.
This is an action item to approve the policies as they're written for you today. Again, as indicated that they would be fluid to bring back to the board as the demand in this program changes.
Make a motion to approve the policies as written with fluency, of course.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the policies. To approve the policies as written. Any questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item number 6, to discuss for possible consideration a right of entry agreement with pipeline companies contractors for Jade Avenue Business Park. Mr. Baptiste. Oh.
Thank you, Madam President. We drafted, at the request of Mr. Baptiste, an access agreement. We had previously drafted one, and what we thought is because this pipeline corridor, as well as the one in your Spur 93 Business Park, are getting more active. Several of the pipeline companies are reworking major lines throughout East Texas right now. What we presented to you, instead of making this specific to a entity, although we will read in the record tonight the name of the entity that will be doing this work, for Enterprise Pipeline, who's the owner of one of the lines through the Jade Avenue Business Park. We decided to make this generic so that we can send this thing out as soon as we get a request, and then certainly immediately bring it back to the board to finalize. The pipeline, again, is owned by Enterprise Pipeline. The company that will be actually doing the work for them, I got an email today from Marilyn Terry, the Enterprise representative for this area, who lives in Sour Lake, and she said, thank you for putting this on the agenda. Correctly, the entity that will be handling this project is HSC Pipeline Partnerships, LLC. Providing the insurance you've outlined will be no problem. We will be providing the same to Drainage District 7 as well. For your information, why do we need this? There's a pipeline corridor in there, and they have rights, as do common pipeline companies, to be in and on that pipeline corridor. It is almost invariable, as we found with these pipeline companies, that they need a temporary access area, either for road access in and out or for laydown area to get off of their pipeline site to do the work. So that's what this access agreement does, is provide them the opportunity to use the adjacent, currently undeveloped area of the EDC to construct these improvements. They simply have to return this to a condition that it was beforehand, and we do not subject ourselves to any liability. As this thing, develops out more, we may become a little more restrictive in what we would allow, both in location and in access. Right now, they intend to go off of the highway along the canal and access their pipeline corridor off the berm of the DD7 facilities. So they would literally come in, what I guess that would be kind of southwest along the highway, come in by those facilities of Drainage District 7, run down the shoulder of the ditch in that berm area, and then drop in and do their improvements. Is at least timing they're planning on moving, what I'm going to say effectively is west to east with this project. We simply want to do this to ensure that we get a property returned to the condition it was, and we have adequate, we have a $3 million combined single limit policy that they have to provide. Some companies, when they get very large, like Chevron, which we're dealing with in a separate project, comes in and asks to provide self-insurance. But here they're going to provide us with the EDC as an additional insured on this policy.
I think there's any action on this, is it, Guy?
Yes, we would like to approve the format, and then we will indicate, as we stated, that HSC Pipeline Partners LLC would be the company we would fill in this one for the chair to execute.
The recommendation?
Make a motion that we receive this right of entry agreement.
Second it.
There's been a motion and a second to approve agenda item number 6. Any questions?
Yeah, Floyd, Guy, will the EDC be responsible for the upkeep of the corridor, the road?
It's pretty much the same as what we have now. You know, that pipeline corridor cuts almost laterally across the EDC undeveloped property. The pipeline company, of course, has the right to access the surface of their property, and we can't build over it. Right now, I think we're mowing that area, Floyd,
Yes.
because we are the owners of the surface, but we're not doing anything besides just the same maintenance we're doing on the other undeveloped portions of the pipeline corridor. And of course, we'll be designing the proposed layout of tracks in the spur, in the Jade Avenue Park, much like they are in that park, where they basically run up to a distance from the pipeline corridor. That's the way it's laid out now in the 93 Park.
Okay.
Any other questions? There's a motion and second on the floor to approve agenda item number 6. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposition? Motion carries. Agenda item number 7, to discuss the appraisal of the land located on West Reverend Howard Street.
Yes, Madam Chairman, Commissioners, several board meetings ago, you guys gave us approval to go out and have the property on West Reverend Howard Street appraised. We engaged the appraiser, Gulf Coast Realty, and this is the appraised value of the property that was appraised. Just for your information.
Is that for all the lots?
That is for all the lots now.
All the EDC owns?
Well, some of it, the manager and I have come to some agreements where there's a couple lots in here that the city owns, and I'm going to prorate the city lots in here based upon the cost, our cost, and the city we're going to reimburse us. Our cost was, I think it was $1,000 for the appraisal. The manager going to give me his proportionate share of that 1,000 for city lot, but most of them is your lot, your property.
Smith?
What's the actual cost for the lots?
We didn't appraise by lots. We appraised by the whole block. The appraisal didn't make, because so you wouldn't be able to sell it by lots. You'd have to sell the whole block. So we appraised the whole block.
We actually paid for it.
That I don't know. That was before my time. And
I think some of them we had determined were donated in some kind of a swap with Port Iron.
Well, Guy, maybe you could help out on that. That was before my time.
I was not counsel of the EDC at that time. We don't have any records on this particular property. Along with the executive director, my assumption is that there was some brownfield area work that was done with the city back probably in the early 2000s, and I think some of this land was donated. I'm not saying it's all of this. There's some other tracks in here that I think were part of a brownfield cleanup site, which were then returned, and once the terms of that were satisfied, that they became, our property, free of any further obligations. We will look to the city because they were the one managing that project. It is interesting that there's sort of a smattering, most of I think all of the lots facing West Reverend Howard Drive are the EDCs. Those along West 6 are about a mix, about 50-50 of EDC and city lots. So how that happened, we've looked over our files in those, and we cannot find what was the basis for that allocation, but that's where we are on the total of those. The triangular piece, Floyd, and then the rectangular block, correct? That's the two properties. And I have a larger map here if y'all want to, again, look back at that one. For those that may not have been at that first meeting, Mr. Marks, if you want to look at it, if you want to hand that down to Mr. Marks, just a little larger drawing of the map that was presented to us probably back at the June meeting, May or June. And again, at this point, we don't have a purchase offer. We have two, how we say it'll avoid letters of interest. And the real question is, I think, for because it's a discussion item only, is it the board's pleasure that the executive director working with the city, move forward. And Riata, I believe, was one, and the city, and I'm sorry, the port was the other party that had expressed some interest in these sites. And so the real issue for the board is, now that you have an appraised value, do you wish that the executive director move forward and bring this information back to those interested parties?
Just have one other question. You say the city owned a couple of the lots? Yes. About two, how many?
It's marked on that map if you want to hand it along. It's more than that. In fact, I think almost half of the ones along West 6th Street are cities, whereas along Ransom Howard, the vast majority are the EDCs. It's the two blocks that are marked. The triangular block and then the rectangular block next to that. I think it's also the same general map that you have on the first drawing attached to the survey.
So we gave you guys a map of that. We do have one in the stores, but we gave you guys a map that distinguished, you know, because we went through each lot and identified each lot.
The only thing we're asking for is to give the CEO permission to go out and do what?
Well, we received 2 indications of interest to acquire the property.
Oh, okay.
After we had determined a value number that we were willing to discuss with those 2 potential parties.
Oh,
So
okay.
now that we have a value number, the question is the board satisfied, understanding that there would be some allocation of that number to the city based, and really the lots look to be almost identical in size. So it would be just some proportionate basis based on the number of lots, and then go to both the port and Riata and say, here's the number we have, as long as you give the authority to the executive director and work in collaboration with the city, because obviously we'll have to have their approval as well to move forward, since they own some of the lots. So it's just we want him to go ahead and move forward.
Okay.
Make a motion that we move forward.
Okay.
There's been a motion and a second to move forward on discussion of what the appraised value is with the companies that are interested. Any questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item number 8, to discuss for possible consideration the final payment and release of retainage to Alco Limited for the site grading in Spur 93 Business Park in the amount of $14,488.60.
Madam Chairman, Board,
Yes,
Alco was a contractor for us that did some dirt movement in the park. They have completed that work. We retained 10% of the contract, which amounted up to $14,488.60. What we asking you guys to go ahead and pay the retainer?
Approve the release of that final payment, because the engineers have indicated they have all of the completion guarantees and other related documents.
So move.
Second.
Moved and second to approve item number 8. Any questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Item number 9, to discuss for possible consideration authorizing the CEO to release a 10% retainage in the amount of $100,000 to Nautical Affordable Housing, Inc. for Seahawk Landing contingent on obtaining the certificate of occupancy for Seahawk Landing and authorizing cancellation of note, loan, agreement, and collateral pledge.
I'll also ask that these 2 agenda items be placed on the agenda for basically timing purposes. As you all see, at least there is a ribbon cutting planned in a little over a week. about 10 days from now for Seahawk Landing. Again, for the members who weren't here as this project unfolded with our participation at the EDC, you all gave a $1 million conditional loan grant and a $1 million permanent loan for a total $2 million commitment to the delivery of the student housing project. As it is anticipated that the CO, while I'm not sure, Floyd and I spoke last week, but don't know that the CO has been issued yet, we anticipate it would be well in advance of your next meeting that you would be authorizing him to release. You've already released $900,000 of the conditional loan that is to be a grant. That leaves the $100,000 in retainage. This would allow the CEO to work through Mr. Dale at the city once the CO is received to release the additional $100,000. That would fund the conditional loan grant, which once we receive the CO, it moves from a conditional loan to a grant. So that $100,000 funds that grant commitment. We also would anticipate possibly before your next board meeting, and that's why the next agenda item's on there, and I can talk about it at that point, that the permanent loan might be funded before the board meets again. So again, I'll discuss that in just a second, but we do recommend approval of agenda item 9. Again, it's all tied to and only if the certificate of occupancy for the project is received. So it wouldn't, there's no release of funds until we have the CO in hand.
Been moved and second to approve agenda item number 9. All those, any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. 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 Any opposition? Motion carries. Agenda item number 10, to discuss for possible consideration authorizing the CEO to request funding the $1 million permanent loan to Seahawk Landing LLC for Seahawk Landing contingent on obtaining the certificate of occupancy for Seahawk Landing.
At least possibly that the permanent loan, which this board has already approved, the city council has approved, we're simply looking to the funding. And that would, if you authorize this, then the CEO can then contact the city and Mr. Dale for the release of the permanent loans. The permanent loan, the collateral, and all those documents have already been approved, and also by this body and also by the city council. So it's purely to authorize, have a document that he can go to Mr. Dale and say, I am authorized to fund now that the CO has been issued. So we again recommend approval purely from a timing standpoint. No guarantee this will happen before the next board meeting, but just in anticipation that we hope it does.
You've heard recommendation of staff?
Motion.
Okay, there's a motion and second to approve agenda item number 10. Although any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Agenda item number 11, to discuss for possible consideration the renewal of the agreement with National Development Council. Mr. Baptiste.
The National Development Council, NDC, is a consultant. They've been working with us for, I think, since 2007. They give us financial consulting. They give us they work with both us and the city in providing, making sure that those projects that we work with are credit worthy. They also bring to us, show us how to best fund projects. They work. We also, for these new members, we also have a small business loan. They are a small business lender that we are part of. EDC, we do a 7A loan. We do 7A loan where SBA, so we take applications, and it's all this is done through the National Development Council. National Development Council, for these new members, were very instrumental in helping us secure the new market tax credit for this building and also the historical tax credit. So what we're asking you guys to do is, this board to do, is continue the service of the National Development Council. We pay these folks $6,000 a month, $72,000. They are here probably once or twice a month. We're on the phone with them just as often as we need them. It's no additional cost. When they come down here, it's all on their cost. Their airfare, their room and board, everything they do is their cost. I think it's a good bang for what we get out of those folks.
You said they're here twice a month?
Sometimes it depends,
About-
especially when we're working with clients. Like right now, we're working with 3 of them. Rachel, 3 clients right now. So they're here and they're on the phone with these folks all the time, you know.
I would say tonight alone, you know, you saw they're working with Floyd on our recycling possible grant, as well as have and will work with Vivian on developing those projects and hopefully helping us identify some additional funding sources for this affordable housing project and obviously funding sources for additional downtown projects. We appreciate their input and Kate was here, she could give you much greater detail about all of the work that was done on securing the new market tax credits for this building. And Stephanie Dugan was the one who brought the buyer of our tax credits to us through their contacts at EDC. So we found their help to be extremely beneficial over these years.
Are they going to be able to help the clients of the low-income housing secure loans?
Madam Chairman, Commissioner, they are working very closely with Ms. Ballou. In fact, Joe was down here last Wednesday and Thursday working with them, putting financial package together. They're working very closely with these folks. Yes, ma'am.
And so this will be no additional cost. This has been
the
contract in the past?
That's
Yes.
part of the contract, right.
And I mean, it's not going up?
It's
No,
been
ma'am.
the same, to my knowledge, since 2007. There has not
right.
been an increase.
I would say this, you know, it's, they also work with the city. You know, they do a lot of work with the city with the neighborhood stabilization program. They're currently working with the city with Rose Hill, you know. That's what they do all across the country. I recommend you renew the contract.
Mr. Wyckoff?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve agenda item number 11. Any questions? All those in,
I would say, I don't know if the new board member had a chance to meet NDC. We hadn't had him down in a while but let's bring them down so all the board members can have an idea who the NDC is. One of the things we done 10 years ago was to get financial experts, and it has helped the city of Port Arthur and the EDC tremendous throughout the last 10 years. So it would be a great thing for them to explain what they have to offer.
thank you. All those in, did we get a motion? Yeah, okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Agenda item number 12, to discuss for possible consideration awarding the bid for the grass maintenance at Highway 73 Business Park.
Madam Chairman, board members, we went out for an RFQ on this project. We received 3 responses. The highest scoring response was William Transport, and we're asking you guys to award this grass cutting for the Highway 73 Business Park to William Transport.
Oh, who's doing the grass cutting now?
Affordable Lawn Care.
What was going on with affordable?
Affordable, you know, does a good job. We did a matrix. We had 4 different criteria. We look at experience, we look at reference, we look at price, and we look at the project approach. And we had independent scores. When we tally up the scores, William Transport came up with 2,660. Affordable Lawn Care had 2,575.
little lower. I
Yeah,
think,
but I'm looking at transport is from Lumberton, and affordable is local, Port Arthur.
and Commissioner, I certainly understand your concern because that was some of my concern. I did speak to the city on this thing. You know, prior to this, we awarded the contract to Affordable Lawn Care. He was not the low bidder, but we knew what type of work he did provide to this board, and it's, you know, his commitment to this board. But when the bid went out originally, it said it must be awarded to the lowest bidder. I asked the city to rescind all the bid, reject all the bid, and then we went out with RFQ, and we based it upon certain criteria: experience, reference, pricing, and project approach. And each one of those had a weight. I did speak to the purchasing manager, and, you know, you've been around. We have had a lot of concerns about our grass cutting. I had to go with the best bid. He did say if it doesn't work out, he will go with the next bid. We could go to the next lowest, but we have to give it to the highest score. And I have discussed this with Affordable Lawn Care.
Okay, because what I'm looking at is when you talk about experience and everything and knowledge of the surroundings, you know, it would be affordable because they've been out there. They know where the sprinkler system's at. They know all the ins and outs of the park.
Yes, sir.
And I remember a while back when we first started this, we had we changed bids, and we had someone come out and start cutting the grass and morning, and we had wound up, you know, replacing the sprinkler systems and rebuilding them because they run over them and tore them up because they didn't have the knowledge of where they were located. Now, look like we're about to get back into that same situation here.
And we're going to monitor it. I have Eliza monitoring this stuff. But if you look at the score sheet under, you look at experience, Affordable did outscore all of them on experience. You know, he had 435. I think what the difference was in the price. You know, that's where the other guy, I think it was a $4 price. And you had three different people evaluating this thing independently. And based upon what they saw from the proposal, they scored it. Again, I agree with you, Commissioner. I have some concerns, but, you know, we went through the process. And
I thought the city of Port Arthur had a
5%.
5%.
I checked on that. Because we went out for RFQ, I cannot use the 5%, sir.
You can't use it because
No,
of the
sir.
RFQ.
No, sir.
Okay. I'm screwed up now.
Yeah, I think this, as we have so frequently said, hire Port Arthur, we didn't even use that. Whoever did this did not even use that as a weight in determining who we would hire. So that concerns me, that, and I know this is not anything, Mr. Baptiste, that you designed, but that we say hire Port Arthur and we don't use it as a weight in determining who we hire.
Again, I have spoken to the purchasing manager. Mr. Roberts, you've been around. You know some of the concerns we have had and problems we have had with grass cutters. The purchasing manager has assured me if we are not happy, then I could go down to the next bidder. I think right now we have exhausted all avenues. We'll see what William Transport could do. And if he does a good job, he has a job. If he cannot do that job, I can assure you he will be replaced.
Ask you a question. You spoke with who we had. You told him the actual price. He didn't want to meet that price?
Well, no, this is all closed.
Oh, okay.
RFQs you can. So would the purchasing agent if we say we're not happy because he's from Lumberton, not necessarily, we haven't seen his work yet, but we're not happy because he's from Lumberton and we were happy with affordable, would that float with the purchasing agent?
No, ma'am. Remember,
Okay.
we went before him with a 5% for Port Arthur resident. I could not use the 5% because the
Okay.
difference is less than 5% because we went out for quotes.
Okay.
I would recommend we go with Williamsport and let's see what happens. If I could assure this board that if things is not taken care of, we will replace it.
We really don't have a choice but to go with them, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I make a motion.
Well, how easy was it to get a hold of affordable when you needed the grass cut?
I don't have to get we are very pleased with affordable. We don't have to get a hold of him, man. He take care of our property. He know exactly what we want. And remember, again, Commissioner, the first time we went out for bids, he was not the low bidder. This board voted to give him the contract.
Right.
The city said, the bid said must go to the lowest bidder. Then we went back to this to try to make everybody equal. And the price, the scores was 3 independent scores. Nobody know what each other scored. This guy came out. I recommend we go with this guy, see what he does. And I can assure you we can certainly be watching because we know the results that we received from affordable, you know. And he has set some standards for us. So if this guy could meet these standards, I think he got him a job for a long time. If not, we certainly will replace him, sir.
My only thing is that I personally just want to say that I'd like to request that you talk to the purchasing agent, and because city policy says that they really encourage City of Port Arthur workers, they should consider that in the bid process as some weight to who we're hiring. And I understand.
Madam
totally.
Chairman, they do consider it in the bid process, but when you're going out for quotes, they do not. Because that question was asked.
I'm confused.
You see, we went out for bid originally. Mm-hmm. The low bidder got it, but he was not under 5%. So this board chose to go with affordable lawn care originally. Because the bid specifically said it goes to the low bidder, we had to go with the low bidder. We requested to go back out. We went back out not as a low bid, but as the most qualified bidder based upon certain criteria. And the criteria were experience, reference, pricing, and the project approach. Again, I assure this board that Affordable Lawn Care has set some standards for the maintenance of those parks, and those standards will not be diminished. I recommend that you go forward with William Transport, and if he does a good job, he have a job. If not, we could replace him.
I make a motion that we accept the bid.
Have a motion?
The comment.
Can I get
Can I
a
comment?
second? Can I get a second before you? Am I going to get a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been a motion and a second, Mr. Wyckoff.
Mr. CEO, I understand what you just said on the process. It seems like, I guess it's a city council matter to do, but we need to really revisit how we do things, because sometimes you can set parameters that don't really look at local Port Arthur and put them at a disadvantage in a way. And I know Affordable Lawn does a hell of a job for us for quite a while, and it's very dependable. Now we have a new contract to bring in Williamson, what we don't know about, but I hope he does great work, but I think that's a gap somewhere we probably need to revisit that with the city. I understand the city has the final say-so on this, but we need to have some more discussion on how we do this going forward. Not just lawn care, but future business, future contracts down the road.
Yeah, because part of our goals and is to make sure that we put Port Arthurans to work. You know, provide jobs for Port Arthurans. And right now, we're taking jobs out of Port Arthurans' hands, you know, so we need to be able to practice what we preach, and we're not doing that.
When did Affordable's previous contract expire?
This particular contract has expired. He's doing it on an as-needed basis because, again, the first time we went out and then the contract expired, so he's doing it as needed right now. Once we execute this contract, this gentleman will take over.
What would happen if we went back to the city and said we wanted to do bids? Are you up to that?
Then it's entirely price-driven.
Yeah.
And it's the requirement to award the lowest bid. And unfortunately, Affordable was not the low bidder last time and was not within 5%, so you could give a local preference.
So you can't guarantee that they would be in the future?
No. You can't, in a bid process, you can't guarantee anyone's going to get the bid.
Right.
And the same thing with the RFQ. You have to base it on either a price or a matrix. You've now tried both.
I have a question. If we were satisfied with Affordable's work and we already had them in the contract, why do we need to go out for bids again?
Because the contract, by its original terms, had expired and all the extensions.
Okay, so
it was not, you can't do evergreen contracts that last for forever. So it went out, it had a term, it had 2 extensions, they were all done. So it was time to rebid or re-propose. Just happens.
For a question?
Call for the question. Votes.
Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Nay.
I think you might want to have a voice or a hand vote because.
Okay. Yeah. What? Joni, would you give us a roll call, please?
Roberts.
Hey.
Marks.
Aye.
Akal. Pena. Smith.
Nay.
Holmes.
Nay.
Womack.
Aye.
Motion fails at 4-4.
It failed?
Fail 4-4. You need to go out and decide to tell the city to give some direction because they've tried a bid and they've tried a proposal, and we can't keep this contract on a as-needed basis for forever. So the board probably needs to give Mr. Baptiste some directive on how you want it bid. If you want to go back to the bid, it's going to be whoever the low bidder is. If a Port Arthur resident is not within 5%, it doesn't matter. It's just going to be whoever it is. You all decided to toss all the bids before. I just think that we're just continuing to go back, and we're not getting to where we want to be, which is the contract that we have now. But that's the simple process of the contracting. We're going to have to go out at some point.
What was the count on the bid?
4-4.
4.
So the motion died.
You said
Yeah,
that.
it
Okay.
fails
I don't
at
know why I
4-4.
thought you said yes.
A tie is a no vote.
Yeah, great.
Can we what? You can direct the city that you weren't satisfied based on the experience of the bidder or whatever, and tell them you'd like to go back to a bid proposal, which is where you were 2 months ago. I don't think there's a reason to repropose I don't know that anything would change, but I mean, I would assume you would go back to the bid process.
Right, right. And I really think the concern of the board is, and I think personally want to say that our concern is that we have, in everything that we have done, said we require people to hire Port Arthur. We require the Port Arthur to be the priority in everything that we do. And as EDC, if we don't say that and stand for that, then we're contradictory to what we're saying our mission is. Now, there's probably nothing else we can do, and that we may have to go with the bid that we have, but I think it needs to be heard loud and clear that we feel very strongly about that. And I'm speaking for Ingrid. I can't speak for the rest of the board, and I think Mr. Wyckoff and Mr. Smith and Mr. Roberts. Don't let me speak for you, though.
Well, you did a good job.
Well, I mean, my position on this is we have gone through the process. We have gone through proper protocol. And while I didn't say I agreed with the process, their evaluation system has 3 variables in it and 1 solid in it. And they did not consider the variable that is most important to us, that is a rock solid thing. Either you're from Port Arthur or you're not from Port Arthur. So that would have carried some weight. I agree. And I agree with your point of view that we need to practice what we preach. However, the process has been done. We're a part of the city. The city has the final say, no matter whether we like it or not.
And that's why I said I'm not sure that there's anything we can do. I think but the point is that we want it to be clearly understood that if we're required to do it in everything else that we do, it's equal footing in everything else the city says that it will go to the Port Arthuran, then we need to do that with everything else. Now, is there equal footing? Not in the pricing, no. Sometimes there's not equal footing in a lot of different things.
I need to explain also, we don't get to cut the foot to fit the shoe. You do a bid process, you do an RFQ process, or RFP. So if you do the RFP, you don't get to use the 5% local preference. You don't get to overlay what the statute says occurs in the bidding process. So what we need to realize is that you can tell them you want to value. That has to do with what was one of the criteria. It's on experience. We want to go back to the local hiring, then you need to go back to a bid process and just accept the low bidder, and if they're not within 5%, and they're not a Port Arthur resident, is going to get the bid. It's just, we can't mix our metaphors, as we say, in the bidding process. That 5% applies just in the bidding process.
So what would the board like to ask Mr. Baptiste to do?
Ask me? Yes. First of all, I would like to say every one of us, as an appointee of a councilman, need to go to our councilman that appointed us and say to them they need to give weight to residents of Port Arthur. Either that or that needs to be included when you go out for bids. That first of all, a resident from Port Arthur will be considered first. I think that's incumbent upon us as board members of the EDC. And secondly, this puts Mr. Baptiste in a very awkward position, but our recommendation to him should be go back, revisit with the purchasing agent, and go forth with the purchasing agent's plan, whichever, whether it be bids or RFQ.
Any other comments? Mr. Baptiste? Okay, thank you. Item number 13, to discuss for possible consideration the placement of signs at the Spur 93 and Jade Avenue business parks. Mr. Betty.
Madam Chairman, board members, last board meeting, we requested that we go out and get some quotes on some signage for the business park, Westport Arthur, and also the Jade Avenue Business Park. We received 3 quotes from Fast Sign, High Tech Sign, and also Premium Graphic. I think, did they give you guys a display? I think I have some in here. No, I didn't. Did you guys get a copy of it? No, you got a display of it?
He's looking for this. It was laid separately.
This is what High Tech, the sign on Westport Arthur Road, gonna look like. If you guys go with High Tech, which is the one we're recommending, I am recommending that we hold back on Jade Avenue Business Park because of, I like to see more, at least where the street's going to go. We know where the first 4 lots are, but this guy, it's going to actually show a diagram of the park itself, and I hate to see just the park, a blank spot, so we're going to hold, I'm going to hold back on Jade Avenue sign, just put on Westport Arthur Road right now. So we'd ask for your permission to move forward with 2 signs, one on the south end and one on the north end of Westport Arthur Road. There will be some additional costs if you guys go with this. That would be to installing the lights that will reflect on this thing.
This did not include the electrical
right
installation. This is the signage only. Right. Any of the, I guess this has to go underground, I assume,
yes,
out
sir.
there to the sign. So the putting in of the electrical cabling and wiring would be a separate contract.
And we do have a lamp pole on both the south side and the north side where we have electricity, so we could connect. It's just running the wires. And normally I would probably get the city to do that for me.
So the price would be double the $1,650?
That's per sign.
Right.
That's
sign.
One. That's quantity one, 2-sided sign. So that's just for one sign. So it'd be that times 2 if there's 2 signs at the Port Arthur Business Park.
Yes, sir.
That quantity was for one sign. One of the other bidders bid it with the last bidder bid each sign separately, as did this one, but he just
so
listed.
The north side and the south side is a 2-sided sign. Is that what you're saying?
They're both 2-sided signs.
But it would be 2-sided, which is one sign. But you would need 2 signs, one on the south end and one on the north end. Both of them would be 2-sided signs. Okay,
so the quantity here is 1.
1.
And the quantity listed as 1 is $1,650.
It's for one 2-sided sign.
Right.
So we're doubling that
yes,
for 2 signs.
Yes, correct.
Thank you. That was
Mr. Marchietta.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and second to approve placing the signs on Spur 93 and Jade Avenue Business Parks. Number 14, to discuss for possible consideration I'm so sorry.
I don't think there was a vote.
I'm sorry. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. I apologize.
One question before we move. Will the deposit required, will that double also?
What's the question, sir?
There's a deposit of $1622.67 required, but that's just for one sign. Since we're doing 2 signs, will that deposit double?
That's the deposit for both of them.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Number 14, to discuss for possible consideration landscaping for the entrance of the Jade Business Park.
Yes, Madam Chairman, board members. At last board meeting, we talked about the Jade Avenue Business Park and went out there and got in touch with a couple of landscape architects. One of them is here today. I've also contacted the guy out of San Antonio who did not respond. Commissioner Robert, you mentioned Prairie View, but it wasn't Prairie View, it was Rice University. We did get in touch with Rice University and did speak to the School of Landscape, and he just didn't have enough student ready to do this thing. This is professional services. H.R. Green out of Houston submitted a proposal to you guys, and Madam Chairman, I would like to yield to Mr. Bob to come in and tell you guys exactly what they plan or propose if you guys wish to go with them. If that's okay with you, madam.
Well,
we had some brief conversations with Mr. Batiste, and was given a tour of the site as well as Port Arthur Business Park adjacent to it. And so on the last page, we just quickly developed a first idea without going through any design process. That's what we based our services on, with the inclusion of Mr. Batiste wanted to ensure that we were providing full services, that we'd be observing and directing the construction of the monument as well as the landscaping. The landscaping would be up and down I believe it'd be the west side of Jade Avenue. It's about 1,200 feet. And then we've got one monument at the southernmost road, loop road that goes through the business park. And then in 5 different locations, we would have some columns as just an identifier that you're now in Jade Avenue Business Park. We've got much experience doing monuments as well as landscape architecture, streetscaping, and we're just pleased to present this to you and take any questions you might have.
any questions?
I actually have a question for Mr. Batiste. Why would we do anything different on Jade than we do on Spur 92?
I'm not saying we will do anything different, but it is a different business park, and we just looking currently. When folks travel down Jade Avenue, you just see a barbed wire fence, and it look like a pasture. What we're trying to do is make it look like a business park.
And I understand that, but that's what you've done on the Spur, and since it's the same business park, I can't see that they should be treated differently.
Well, we have to show that it is a business park. Though right now, you cannot tell. For many, many years, it's just been an open field.
Right.
And there's no manicure. I just think you need something appealing to, to business of folks looking to come in and put up a $6, $7, $8 million structure to say that this is my new neighborhood,
That doesn't to me explain why you would do something different on one side of the business park versus the other side of the business park. To me, it's one business park. Am I wrong?
No, I think I need some clarity.
It's 2 separate business parks. It's been platted as 2 separate business parks. The reason it was platted as 2 separate business parks, and think we need to go back and remember this, we did that purposely. You've designed the cost per acre in the business park, 93, based on your embedded cost, acquisition of land, development of site improvements, including the current landscaping along 93, all the roadways, all the utilities on that business park. Those don't all benefit the business park to the south, nor will the benefits to that park's improvements necessarily enhance. You will have, and you currently do now, 2 separate prices per acre for the 2 business parks. You today would sell those business parks at separate pricing. So these were separated based on the board's determination to buy this park over a year ago. Okay. So they are 2 separate business parks that will have a separate identification denomination because you are developing these things possibly to similar entities, but you have a different basis in your cost in both right now significantly.
Okay.
So we're
Same
selling.
thing with the Highway 73.
73 is a
That's
lower cost per acre right now.
I know, but it would be the same thing, a separate business park, correct?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have signage and everything that shows it to be a business park, but it's not like the business park south.
Right.
You're going to have your own signage and everything else. Because you have platted it as a completely different business park.
We don't have pricing information on this?
Well,
Did you?
There is pricing.
There is pricing.
Yes.
I think, Bob, I had some question, you know. If you guys look at, I don't have a page number on here, it says page of 18, he gave you guys a total price of $250,000. $68,250. Correction.
Yes.
Based upon your costs, are you estimating this thing to cost us about $700,000 to do this work?
The construction costs?
Yes, sir.
We were estimating it around $300,000 to $400,000.
Well, I don't know how much work you have done in Southeast Texas, but we, you know, professional fees have normally run about 10% of that cost.
Okay.
All right, with that guy, about 10%?
I think it kind of varies on the detail of the project, but somewhere in the, you know, low teens to mid-teens, depending on the, some basic construction projects, the design engineering or architectural numbers will be lower. As you get to more sophisticated projects, they'll go up, so percentage-wise. So, but I would say, you know, maybe 14, 15% on a project like this would be, 10% might be a little low, but, you know, it's still, so you still would probably be talking about normally about a $500,000, $600,000 project.
And saying that, could the costs be adjusted?
There would be several ways to do that, and I think in here we do, at one point, we discuss in the findings of the design development process that costs at that point could be adjusted if, you know, if we were guessing wrong on how elaborate or how not elaborate you might want the design, that there is an opportunity in there that we could certainly adjust our construction document and those follow-up fees. If the board wanted to take out of our contract some of the surveying or geotechnical work, and again, to hire someone local, that would reduce this contract cost, but
Right. Yeah. So I think, Madam Chairman, Board, based upon what, we have on here for action items, if you guys, we ready to move forward, but I think, I need to sit down and talk with Mr. Bob a little more before I ask you guys to take some action on this thing. So I ask for you guys to table this till next board meeting.
I so move.
Second.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries to table till next board meeting. Item number 15, to discuss for possible consideration allowing Mardi Gras Southeast Texas to utilize the side of the building at 501 Proctor Street to display a laser show during 2017 Mardi Gras events.
Madam Chairman, I'm going to ask Rachel, Crystal, you spoke to Lori, and I think we did send out the email that Lori sent to us.
Yes.
Good evening, Board. Laura Childress with Mardi Gras Southeast Texas approached us about 2 weeks ago, and during their Mardi Gras 2017, we hope to have the pavilion and People's Park finished. So their plan is to display a laser show on, they're hoping to display it with you all's permission on the side of our building during the 2017 events, all the way from Thursday through Sunday. And hopefully we can utilize People's Park by then, and people can watch the display from the park. She did also say there is some space where they will put logos for sponsors and all, and she is offering for us, we can put our logo on there free of charge. That would be the pleasure of the board if you all decided to charge them.
As I understand it, there's no improvements. They're going to just show it against the current wall. Just the way we understood it from Mardi Gras.
That's correct.
I make a motion we accept her proposal.
Moved and second that we accept the proposal to use the side of 501 Proctor to display a laser show during Mardi Gras.
Allow them to.
Allow them to. Thank you.
Yes, allow.
Allow. We're not doing it.
Allow them to. Any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
She did say that we could actually post our logo free of charge, right?
Right, and we have already submitted our logo to them, Commissioner, so EDC logo will be displayed.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Number 16, to discuss for possible consideration approval of board travel. Mr. Baptiste?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chairman, several board has a policy that anytime board members travel, that they must have approval of the full board. I know there's several board members that's going to be going to Cleveland in this month, and there's also several board members that's going to be going to some training. And let me see what we have here. I think Mr. Anderson, Ms. Holmes, Mr. Marks, Mr. Smith, you guys will be traveling to Cleveland, and we're asking the board for y'all approval to travel to Cleveland for the annual conference. And then Mr. Marks and Mr. Smith, you guys will be attending sales tax training, I don't know, in Austin?
Austin.
There's Austin.
Austin in October. So we also asking the board members for you guys to travel to, permission for y'all to travel.
I so move.
I second.
There's a question.
We were wanting to attend the training in December. Is that possible?
Rachel, have we set them up yet? Okay, we can take care of that. But if you guys, we could still get permission now.
Right.
So that we can go ahead and do all the proper paperwork that needs to be done.
Okay.
So that was December?
December, it's gonna be in December.
There's a motion and a second to approve travel for board members. Any questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item number 17, to discuss for possible consideration the approval of a 3% pay raise for EDC staff contingent on council approval effective October 1st, 2016.
Yes, Madam Chairman. In your proposed budget, you guys are going to see that the city will be recommending a 3% across the board for staff. I'm asking you guys to approve that 3% across the board for EDC staff, so that when it goes to council for approval for the budget, you guys would have approved prior to, and it's all contingent upon the council saying, accepting that 3% approval.
Make a motion.
It's been moved and second to approve staff receiving a 3% increase across the board, cost of living increase across the board, contingent upon council's approval. Any questions?
Yeah, Floyd, I have one question. Is this necessary for the board to do? I thought that was something that the CEO didn't have to come to the board for a increase on his staff. Because the board, you know, the staff works for the CEO, but the CEO, you know, works for the board. So I'm just asking, is this necessary?
Commissioner, I think I'm going to yield to the attorney, but I think it is because, you know, my discretion is at the hiring. You know, this board helped me determine the salary for a position, and then we go along with city personnel policy. And when we set the salary, we set it in a particular range and a step. And once that is set, then that person is within that position. Anytime there is a across-the-board raise, I would have to go back and ask you guys, because it's not a promotion, or it's not based on evaluation or performance. It's just across the board. It's just, I guess it's kind of like a COLA, cost of living, you know. So it would be up to the board. Guy?
Yes, and this is just an element of the budget you're sending across to the city anyway. But I think it does state that you all support the across the board for the staff. So we certainly don't oppose the board giving sort of a resolution in support separate from what you have in the budget document anyway.
It's been there's a motion on the floor. It's been moved and second to approve the 3% increase in pay contingent on. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. May I ask a question? Do employees also get performance evaluation increases?
Yes, ma'am. There is when an employee comes on, they come in, like I said, on a particular range and a step, and the city personnel policy define, I think after 6 months, then after a year, and then 18 months, and then I think it goes to every 2 years or something like that. But they get performance evaluation, yes. They can go up a step. Rachel, is it a step a year?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Got enough?
Okay, item number 18, to discuss for possible consideration the approval of the revised budget.
Okay. Let me explain to the board why we're revising the budget. Early in your agenda, you guys approved $1 million and a retainer of $100,000 to Seahawk Landing. Well, originally, we didn't know when those invoices was going to come to us. So we budgeted for next year. okay? Well, we carried over the money for next year. It was in your budget for this year, but we carried over the money for next year because we didn't know. Well, we paying it this year. So the reason why we're asking you guys to amend the budget is because we're now taking that money out of next year's budget. So what you guys approve is different from by $2 million, a little over $2 million.
I thought we already approved that, because we did talk about the pavement, if it was going to be in this budget period or if it was going to be in the next budget period for the Seahawk housing.
We talked about it. We did.
I thought it was already approved by the board.
Yes.
Well, and it goes back to, isn't the new year starting October the 1st?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There's a possibility that they won't have an occupancy certificate by then, and it may be next year. I mean, technically, it could happen that way.
I'm almost sure it will happen next week, ma'am. They will have the CO next week. I'm talking to the city. So, you know, I think and that's why we asked you to take those motions that you took today, because we should be getting a CO by this week or next week.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, I thought we already talked about this.
We
and
talked about it,
discussed
but
this and voted on it that.
We talked about it, Commissioner, but when you approve your budget.
Okay, you did say you bring it back.
Yeah. When you approve your budget, it was about $7 million. Now you're gonna, if you bring it down a little more, it's only $5 million something, because we're taking some of that money out.
I'm back on track.
Yes. And so what you're approving is, was that actually going to be submitted to the council?
Yes, sir.
I think we are very hopeful that the $1,100,000 will be funded in this budget year rather than holding it over to next year. So we again do recommend approval, and it's a necessary budget item. If it doesn't happen, then Rachel gets to come back and tell you to move it back to next year. But we're very hopeful that this all does get funded in the next few days before the end of the budget year.
It's showing that we're going to have $1,033,000, but what is not showing is, and Rachel have put it into your package, those things, our budget this year, that money that's unspent and money that's going to be going back into that fund balance. And when you look at it, when you're looking at these sheets right here, guys, I'm looking at these two sheets so you guys can understand. When you're looking at these two sheets, when you look at your development account, that's where that $1,100,000 is coming. We got $2 million. We have $2,500,000. So $1,464,000 going to go into your fund balance. Everybody understand? We're not going to spend it. So, and we have already budgeted for everything that we're going to spend next year. Okay, and then if you look at your 4B account, about $600,000 we expect to spend before the fiscal year. About $1.7 million going to be going back into your fund balance. So at the end of the year, we're going to be bringing, Mr. Smith, about $3.4 million into that fund balance. So when you look at your balance, it's not the $1,033,000, it's $4.7 million. You follow me? So I just wanted to show you guys that Rachel is a very good steward of your money. Rachel, is that right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So, you see, I originally projected 2.9, but when I start looking at the real number, it's going to be about $4.4 million. That's with everything paid for next year. You follow me?
motion.
Second.
It's a motion and a second to approve adjusting or revising the budget, which the 2016-17 budget. Question? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
Thank you for the detail.
Got it.
Reports. Marketing and business recruitment report. Good evening.
I'm going to start off with a quote tonight by Socrates. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. And the reason why I'm starting off with this quote is because my CEO and I, we will be traveling to California in November. And you guys voted a couple of months ago for a target industry prospect, which is TIPS. And we've talked with Don Floor. We've talked with him several times. And we will be meeting with CEOs, senior vice presidents, and pretty much the decision makers on why to come, why move your business to Port Arthur. Mr. Baptiste and I, we will have approximately 8 to 12 meetings while we're out there. And pretty much these meetings will last an hour to an hour and a half. So we're looking to meeting with the decision makers and bringing companies back to invest in our community and getting a return on the investment that you guys have agreed and the city of Port Arthur have agreed to do. So I'm really, really happy about that. Also, of course, you know, EDC is approaching. We received an international award, a silver award. This morning, myself and Mr. Baptiste, we were recognized at the city council meeting at 8:30 this morning. And pretty much they asked about the marketing efforts and, you know, what the award was about and just everything that the award encompasses. And like I told them, I said, when I came here 3.5 years ago, I was given a strategic plan. And what I did is I took that strategic plan and I ran with it. And I created a marketing campaign, Build It, Ship It, Rail It. And that marketing campaign, that tagline, has gotten us a lot of recognition, not just locally, but internationally. So I'm really, really excited about that. Also, on last Thursday, I had the opportunity to meet with a couple of investors. 3 flew in from New York and 1 flew in from Dallas. And we were able to go into our business park and actually walk through and visit a vacant location. And Mr. Baptiste, if you want to elaborate a little bit more on what that was all about, I would appreciate that. Mike.
Yes, the investors are they from the New York area, and you know, folks, I will say that you know the marketing campaign has done a tremendous job for Port Arthur, Texas. I had a little guy call me up. I don't know if he make bread or he sell bread, but he was out of the Bronx or somewhere. He spoke like one of those guys, Jeff, you know. And he said, "What you mean with Build It, Ship It, or Rail It?" I said, "You could do it here in Port Arthur." But, you know, we did get some prospect for one of the largest building that we have in the business park that's vacant. These folks, they know business, and you know, hopefully this thing will turn out to be what we want it to be. You know, I could only say so much, folks, right now. Okay, but it's a good deal right now.
Yeah, and pretty much that concludes my report. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. And congratulations.
Congratulations.
Operational report.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
Okay, I'm going to start with our employment and training programs. Team Industries, as you know, who has our higher level welding program, they are finishing up their first class of their second contract with us. And out of that class, they should be graduating 12 students. So they're on track with that, and we hope to be moving on to the next class here soon. I believe the end of that class is September 22nd. Our Lamar State College CDL class that we have also invested some funds into tuition reimbursement for some of the Port Arthur students. They are also wrapping up their first class for this, their second contract as well. They are doing the CDL-A driver's course. And we recently learned that they are also, within that CDL-A driver's course, they're teaching the CDL-B information as well, because that was a concern of ours. So they can, when the students complete the course, they can actually go and test for either or, the A or B, but they do encourage them to test for the A because it is the bigger license and they can do more with it. We are working on our job fair. We put together a committee. It consists of Chamber of Commerce representatives, the local workforce representatives, and the Port Arthur News. So we've established that committee. We've had a meeting in August, and we do have a tentative date of February 9th to hold the job fair. It was a very positive meeting, and hopefully we will start our marketing for it to recruit employers and putting all of the marketing material together this month. Our Business Retention and Expansion Survey is live on our website. The Port Arthur News has agreed to partner in linking our information to their website, so they are going to put an ad on their website as well as in the newspaper to let the Port Arthur businesses know that it is ready. They can go to our website or come in, fill it out however they'd like to do it. I also I passed out a flyer. It should be in front of you. That is the information we're putting out through the Chamber of Commerce as well as through our social media and our website. So businesses can go to our website and fill out the survey, or they can contact me and set up an actual face-to-face interview. I'll be more than happy to go out and just jot down the information about having a conversation with them. So that's ready to go. Also, I am setting up interviews with Business Park businesses this week, so I can have one-on-one information with them as well. At the beginning of August, I was able to go to the Tri-County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. They put on a small business forum this year, and they had a very good turnout. We had a table there. I was able to set up and talk to a few businesses, mostly small business, gave them information on our small business revolving loan program that we have available through NDC and some other resources that we have available. So that was very successful. And you also, I put in front of you something we received today from Lamar State College. That's for the ribbon cutting for Seahawk Landing. So hopefully you all can make it. And that is all I have for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There being no other financial report, Mr. Baptiste, CEO's report.
I think, Joni, we're looking at logos, EDC shirts for board members, and I think there was a date set.
There's a date set for their representative to come to us this Thursday with sample shirts that we'll be able to present to y'all so that y'all can make a decision of what type of shirt you will want.
So how you want those folks? You want them, if they can come by here Thursday or what?
Well, we'll relay the information to them at their workshop.
Okay.
So that they're all together.
Okay. So that's and I think what we have done in the past is allocate 2 shirts per board members. And the other thing I want to let you guys know, September the 14th, we will have a walk around the affordable housing program. We have invited about 25 folks within the city that deal from the police department, the inspectors, the grass, people who watch the grass, everybody who provides service to citizens. And the intent of this thing is to get these folks in, to begin to see the vision of redevelopment, so that everybody would be on the same page and we're all working for the same goal. The city will be loaning us a bus, and Ms. Ballou going to be here to She's going to be our tour guide and talking about what we're trying to get done. And we've had a pretty good commitment from the city. How many folks is in that thing?
There's probably a good group of at least 20 folks that have been approached that planning had also asked us to include so that we have a broad spectrum across the city officials and also include it in the tour.
Yeah. It is, it's mostly department heads. We just want these folks to understand that in order to be successful, everybody have to see the same outcome. So that's going to happen on the 14th. That's all I have.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts,
No.
ideas?
Yeah. I don't have anything else. We're looking forward to the upcoming board workshop. I think we've added a couple of things, including a possible discussion of a governor's policy, the 5-year, visioning plan, and some other things. So we're looking forward to that. But I don't have anything at this point for the board for executive session.
There being no other business to discuss, may I have a motion to adjourn? There's been a motion to adjourn, motion and a second to adjourn the meeting at 8:13 in the evening. All right.
Excellent.
That was a good meeting.
There is food, guys, if you guys want to have